Hi, I'm Anita here at Vinka Design, and here we are taking measurements for a custom gown. So what I'm going to do today is start with a ribbon around your waist. I want you to wear a really supportive uplifting bra, so one that's going to hold you tight, really give you a nice lift and hold your bust in the optimum position. If you're not wearing a bra, wear a lacy bra, but something with stretch that generally gives you just that little bit more lift. Also, if you're wearing shapewear, I'd really like you to wear the shapewear when we take the measurements, so you get an accurate reading. Also, shoes. Think of the shoes you're going to be wearing, and it does change your posture, so it is important if you're going to be wearing shoes, put those on for the measurements. You feel silly, but it's worth it. So take measurements ideally with someone else so they can check that you're doing this correctly. It's very hard to measure yourself. And generally what's really good is if you can take the measurements with a mirror behind, so you can make sure that you're not sliding, you've got that sitting in the right position at the back. So we're taking the measurements, firstly starting with the bust, and the next measurement we want to do is the underbust, which is the smallest part that's sitting directly underneath the bust. Again, make sure that that's sitting in the right position at the back, so it's not sliding down. And make that firm. We want to hold that bust in the right position. That's giving it support, especially if we're doing a bowing structure. So that's got to be nice and snug. The next measurement we want to do is the front bust. So imagine you've got a seam where that seam would be, and that's directly on the underside of your underarm. We're going to go from the front, measure around and find that seam, and then we're going to go again from that measurement to the back. And that should match the first measurement of the bust. Now the next measurement we're going to do is the fun one, the nipples. So bust point to bust point and work out where that is. So often it's obvious, otherwise sometimes you just have to look, but you need that measurement. So we're working with that. And then the other measurement, knowing where that is, we're going from the shoulder seam, which is again straight at the top. We imagine you had a little line there, to the bust point. And we're going to get that measurement, so where's your bust point up there? And then measure that, and then we want to get to the underneath where that underbust line is, and then to the waist. Again, check multiple times that you've got that accurate. It's very, very important. So working with that waist, you can see where that should be. Often we need two measurements because one shoulder is slightly different, so we'll check both sides. If it's out a little bit, it's not something to be worried about. Secondly, then we need to do the measurement of the shoulder back. So shoulder to the back, waist. Again, check both sides to make sure that that's about the same. Then we're going to think about the neckline of the dress that we've chosen, where that neckline is. For example, if it's a boat neck, you're working to where you want that neckline to be. Or if it's a V-neck, you're working again to how low that neckline you want to be. So often with a bespoke gown, you need to think about that. So which is also really important, why you've got that bust sitting where you want it to sit, so you can see if it's going to be too low or not. So that measurement is really important. We also want to know the measurement under the arm of where that's going to be to the waist, and also at the back. So we've got that measurement of what we're needing the dress to be. So the next measurement we're going to do is the waist to floor. And record that. Then we're going to go and work along the hip line. So we're needing multiple, measurements. The top hip line, usually around 3.5 to 4 inches below the waist. You can measure that down and then make sure it's straight across the back. Then you're going to need a little bit lower, a lower hip line, and mark that. And then finally we want that seat marking, which is a seat over the top of the hip line, over the top of the thighs and the seat. Make sure that that's not too tight, but able to slide over you. So keep it going, make it a little bit better to be a little looser than too tight, so it doesn't ride over the line. Sometimes if a bride is asking for a gown with a nice shaping over the derriere, we often ask for this sort of measurement here, so we can get that little shaping to come through the bust, the butt. And then of course, we take the measurements for the waist. Through here. You want that reasonably firm without being too tight. You want to be able to breathe on the day. Breathing? So that's the main dress area. We do also would like a measurement over the shoulder. So that's working with this bone here, which is your spine. You're working to get that back shoulder width. So we're looking at, for Helena, she would be up 7.5. We also like this little measurement here across the back here. She's also 7.5 here. Again, working with that spine. That sort of measurement here. We've got a good understanding of, again, her width across the back. But if you're doing sleeves, again, we want to thinking of the top of the sleeve to the over the elbow to the length of the sleeve. So you know what the design of the dress is, so what you'll be needing. If it's like a puff sleeve, you've got to allow that little puff into what it's going to be in, to what sort of cuff. So you sort of, that will be what you need for each dress. But we do want the shoulder to elbow measurement, and then shoulder to wrist measurement. Then we want the upper arm, and then we want it to have the lower upper arm, I should say, and then working on the over the bicep, not bicep, what is this one? Forearm. Yeah, that's it. And then of course the wrist. And that pretty much gives us a very good idea of what you're needing.